Hello, writing friends. It's Jim Parsons with Write That Novel Now. We're up to lesson 23, and we're still talking about dialogue. Last one on dialogue. And today I want to look at what's known in the trade as talking heads syndrome. Okay, we'll look at what it is, how to avoid it, and in avoiding it, how to make your dialogue work hard for you. So first up, what is talking heads syndrome? Okay, it's a trap that is very easy for us to fall into at any stage in writing. When we're really into our story and we've got characters interacting, we become almost like an observer of what's happening. There they are talking to one another, and we're, oh, this one says that one says replies, this one says something, that one replies. And there we are typing it all down, recording what we can hear in our head, which usually makes for some good, authentic dialogue. But if we don't make an effort to dress that up, it's very bare and it becomes what we call talking heads syndrome. It's just people talking. And one way to test for this, see if you've produced that, look at a lengthy piece of dialogue and see if it would be quite possible to produce it as a radio play where all people get are the voices. If that's what you could do, you've got talking head syndrome and you need to dress it up. So what can we do to dress it up? First of all, we can intersperse bits of setting so that the reader is reminded of where this is happening. There might be sound that can be heard, smells coming in, some of those sensual prompts that we can give readers. We can also put in some backstory. Not a lot, obviously, because it breaks up the dialogue too much, but just enough to give a little break from this boom, 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 like a tennis match backwards and forwards. And the other really important thing to do is to get into the main character's head and use their POV thoughts, so that they're reflecting on what's being said, reflecting on what the other person says. Because an awful lot might be going on in their head that they're not actually. Let's move now to PowerPoint, and I will demonstrate some of these things to you. Okay, we're talking about how to avoid talking heads syndrome. Here's an example. We're dreaming up a dialogue. So here we go, set in an English pub, let's say. I don't think we should take Jason on this job, Bennett said. Tom frowned. Jason's the best safecracker in the business, he said hotly. Yes, but come on, spell it out. Bennett wriggled uncomfortably on the bar stool. That last job, he lost his nerve when the security guard turned up from nowhere. You were still in the van, so you didn't see it. You sure that's what this is all about? Tom said darkly. Sure. I don't trust him to keep his cool. One mistake and we could all end up in the slammer. I'll think on it. He won't like being eased out, you know. All right, it's a reasonable piece of dialogue. It advances the plot, raises a few questions for the reader. A few extra adverbs there that I'd be happy to leave out. As you can see, the bulk of it, you could listen to it on a radio play and understand what was going on. So we've got a good basic dialogue. Let's see what we can do with it. How about we try adding a setting to it, a little bit of setting. Now, I suggested that it was pub. What about this? I don't think we should take Jason on this job, Bennett said. Tom Andrews cast a casual glance around the bar to see if anyone might be in earshot. The steady rumble of male voices, the occasional laugh, and the clink of beer glasses being washed told him he didn't have much to fear. The barman saw him looking in his direction and raised an empty glass by way of inquiring if he wanted another beer. Tom. He turned to Bennett and frowned. Jason is the best safecracker in the business. So we've got a little bit of detail there, a few sounds coming into it, sensual imagery, and some setting. We could add a little bit further down at the end. One mistake and we could all end up in the slammer. As if on cue, someone at the bar slammed his hand down hard on the counter. A gale of laughter swept around the pub. Huge antique railway clock over the entrance read 5 minutes to 11, almost closing time. Tom took a cigarette pack from his shirt pocket. I'll think on it. You won't like being eased out. So a second piece of setting here. We're getting a sense of time now. A few little bits of detail about the pub. It's got a big antique railway clock. And as it's almost closing time, as many smokers do, Tom instantly reaches for the cigarette pack, ready to go outside and have a smoke. So there's 2 bits of setting there that dress up. What else can we do? How about adding some backstory in this gap? You were in the van. You were still in the van, so you didn't see it. Yes, the last job. A late night raid on an off licence. Had almost been a disaster. Whether you'd call it losing your nerve to cut and run when an armed guard showed up was a matter of opinion. Now, you see, not only are we getting backstory, we have also added a little bit of POV. This could only be Tom Andrews' thoughts. He's not saying it. These thoughts are going through his head. Whether you'd call it that was a matter of opinion. As Bennett said, he'd been in the back of the van stacking boxes of whiskey when Jason suddenly yelled, "Sit tight, we got to get out of here," slammed the back doors and took off, Bennett running behind. Once around the corner, they paused to let Bennett clamber in. Bennett had thrown a punch at Jason. It was bad blood between them anyway. So we're now getting a picture of how these guys operate, the sort of things they did, what went wrong on the last job that was hinted at, some sense that things aren't real good because guys. Now we have added, as I said, that it is a reflection as well as being backstory. Let's add a little bit more POV, reflection. "You sure that's what this is all about?" Tom said darkly. Word on the street was that Bennett had come home a little too early, found Jason in bed with his wife. Damn shame Jason couldn't keep his pants on. Still, they needed a cohesive team to pull off a big job. 2 men sparring over a woman might be worse than any supposed loss of nerve if it ever happened. So, wonderful piece of reflection here, plus backstory. What's going on between these men adds a lot more to it. And we could add a bit at the end too. "I'll think on it. You won't like being eased out, you know." And the truth was, Jason was crucial to their success. Anyone could do Bennett's job. If someone had to go, it wouldn't be Jason. Bennett might end up sorry he opened his mouth. So, wow. Look at all these things we've added. Have a look at that jumble of words now. I'd say the dialogue itself is 50% or less of this piece. How much extra have we given the reader? Given the reader a lot to think about. I hope this has given you a lot to think about. I hope you work out how you can add some reflections, how you can add setting, and how you can add backstory to your dialogue. Well, it turned out to be quite a short lesson this week, even though I'm working into the night, as you can see on it. I hope you got something out of it. If you'd like a little exercise to do about dialogue, contact me. Email is to follow. So until next week, bye-bye, keep safe.